Hello, and welcome to episode 2, the question that gets you started. If we want to live a healthier, more balanced life, whatever that means to each of us, and it means something different, right? Then we start off by asking ourselves that question. What do I want? What do I want to be experiencing that will have me feeling a little healthier and more in balance? What do I want to be doing that will have me feeling like I'm healthier and more in balance? What does feeling healthy mean to me? What does feeling healthy mean to you? What does that look like? What do you want your end result to be? That is the question that gets us started. But that is not the only question that we need to ask ourselves. In the past, that was the only question I asked myself, and then I just, bam, was like, yep, I'm off to the races. This is what I want. This is my goal, and now I'm going to just run right out and try to do all of the action. And I didn't have much patience for the time that it might take to get that result. And unbeknownst to myself, I was most of the time going about getting that result in the wrong way by taking the wrong kind of action and not checking my thoughts and not having the best accountability and support, which I will talk about in future episodes. So in episode 1, I did mention that there are 3 ways to get the results that we say we want. Take the right kind of action over time, check our thoughts over time, and have the right kind of accountability and support over time. But first, we need to figure out what we want. What do I want? What is that end result? Now, we've all set goals, and I'm sure some of us have reached the goals we've set. Some of us, we've set goals and not reached them. And what I want to invite you to throughout this podcast is to release the judgment you have on yourself for not meeting some of those goals. But speaking of goals, I want to give you an example. So when I was in high school, I set the goal of becoming a speech language pathologist. I had observed a speech language pathologist in a hospital setting, working with someone, and I thought, that is what I want to do. I was very set on that was my goal. So I, over the course of time, took the tiny steps along the way that I needed to reach that goal of becoming a speech language pathologist. It did not happen in a week. It did not happen in a month. It did not happen in a year. I took those tiny steps. I wanted it. I was motivated. I knew very clearly what that end result would look like. I also set a goal to become a certified health and life coach, and I took the tiny steps necessary to reach that goal, investing time and money into a program, which was new for me because I had never done something like that just for me. And I took the tiny steps of getting coached, coaching others, getting graded on coaching others, listening to modules. I took steps over time to get to that end result. I didn't just go right out and say, I'm going to be a coach tomorrow. I'm going to be a speech pathologist tomorrow. When it comes to our health and wanting to feel healthier or more balanced, we ask ourselves what that means to us. And then what are the steps that I need to take to get to that end result? I'm not going to have that end result tomorrow, but what is that result? So let's talk about some examples here. What would help you feel healthier and more in balance? So for me, several years ago, I wanted a lot of things in my health and life to change. I wanted to have more energy. I wanted to feel less stressed. I wanted to sleep better. I wanted to feel like I had more connection with some people in my life. So get curious. What do you want? What would be one thing? Because we could list 5 or 6 things, right? We don't want to get caught up in, I want this and this and this and this. What would be 1 or 2 things that if you had those results or were experiencing them, you would feel a little healthier and more in balance? Get curious and think about that. That's our first question. What do I want? And why do I want it? And many times we just think about, this is what I want, and now I want to just go take all the action to try to get it, without giving much thought to, why do I want this? Why is it important to me? What will having this do for me? And when we can explore that, it helps propel us along the way. Why do I want to have more energy? What will having more energy do for me? Why do I want to work out 3 times a week? What will working out 3 times a week over time do for me? Why do I want to feel less stressed and more relaxed? What will that do for me? How will I show up then to my job, to my relationships? What's important about having this balance? What's important about getting more sleep? What's important about taking better care of myself? What's important about getting a different job? Whatever it might be. Why do you want what you say you want? And I was at a workshop, and I've also read this because, again, I have all the information. Information alone does not get you results. Ooh, let me say that again. Information alone does not get you results, or we would all have all the results we want, right? Because there's information out there. All we have to do is Google it. So what do we want? Why do we want it? What's important about having it? What will improve for us if we get it? And what is stopping us from having it? What is stopping you from having more energy? What is stopping you from working out 3 days a week? What is stopping you from doing self-care? What is stopping you from relaxing with friends and family more? We need to identify our obstacles. And sometimes our obstacles are our thoughts. Sometimes our obstacles start with us. Sometimes our obstacles are really just our excuses. Sometimes they're legitimate obstacles, but sometimes they're excuses, and we just get curious. One of my jobs as a coach is to just help people get curious with what they want, why they want it, the steps to take to get it, and to help them take the right kind of action for them. What do you want? Why do you want it? And to help get out of the judgment and the negative stories that we tell ourselves that keep us from getting what we want. But that's a whole other series coming up on the podcast. Right now, we're asking questions. What do I want? Why do I want it? What's important about having it? So yes, as I was saying, I went to a workshop. I've got all the information, cycle back around. And I was told that to really figure out what we want, we need to ask ourselves why about 7 times. And I invite you to do this. So whatever it is you say you want, think about that right now. If you're near a pen and paper, write it down. What do I want? Why do I want it? What's important about having that? What will that allow me to do in my life that I'm not doing now? What will that open up for me? There's different ways you can ask it, right? But it's continuing to ask why. So you can bring up all those reasons, all of those positive things, because that's what's going to help propel you forward. Then we want to ask ourselves, what's going to happen if I don't get this? So 10 or 12 years ago, when I was getting the information like you have osteoporosis, you have prediabetes, you have gone through early menopause, probably because you had just chronic low-level stress, all of those things, I needed to figure out how to change some of my habits. because if I did not, then I really did not like the way things were going for me. I was on the road to diabetes, and I know what that meant because my dad had diabetes. I already was diagnosed with osteoporosis. I remember seeing my grandmother just hunched over, never able to even stand upright because of her bone health. So it became kind of scary, but really clear to me, okay, what if I don't get this result in 3 months? Well, nothing much is going to happen. It's just going to be me 3 months from now. What happens if I don't get my result in 5 months? What happens if I don't get it in a year? What happens if I keep going on this track I'm going in 5 years, in 10 years? You get the picture. Not to paint doom and gloom, but to help your brain figure out what you want, why it's important, what's going to happen if you don't get it, and the steps that you can take to get there. The tiny steps. What do I want? Why do I want it? What will having this do for me? How important is it from 1 to 10? What will happen if I don't get it? And then, here's the good stuff. Imagine that you do have it. I do have more energy. I am taking better care of myself. I am drinking water. I am regularly moving my body. I am regularly getting good sleep. So I'm talking about consistently, regularly, not some perfection. Please release that from your mind. We're talking about a balance. We're not talking about, as I said in episode 1, eating kale and meditating all day, or eating cake and binge watching Netflix all day. It's okay to eat cake and binge watch Netflix sometimes. It's okay to eat kale and meditate, but we want to have balance. And so imagining what it will be like to have this, imagining what it would be like if you don't get it over time, and getting curious about those questions. So many times clients will join one of my programs and they'll say, this is what I want. I want to develop a habit of drinking more water, or I want to develop a habit of working out more, or I want to develop a habit of more sleep. These are all just examples. And then maybe 4 or 5 weeks into the program, they realize, you know what? Actually, I want this other thing now. I want to just continue to learn how to show up for myself. And once I do that, then, I'll be able to get all these results I want. I'll know how to get better sleep, and that I can believe in myself and trust myself to take the steps to get better sleep, or whatever that might be. So the end goal is really for you to self-coach yourself. I know how to count on myself. And one of my clients said that I really just want to learn how to keep promises to myself. Once we learn how to actually show up for ourselves, then we can plug in all kinds of specific results that we'd like to get, and it'll be easier to get those results. All right. The question that gets you started, what do I want? What will help me feel like I'm a little healthier and a little more balanced? Why do I want that? What's stopping me from getting it? What will it look like when I have it? How important is it to get that? These are the questions that get us started. I hope this was helpful. If you want to get more clarity on what you want and why you want it, I'm happy to do a free consult with you, and we can figure out together. I can help you see and get crystal clear on what you want and the steps that will help you get closer to that end result that you want. Check out the link in the show notes if you'd like to set up that consult. All right, have a great rest of your day, and remember, keep it simple, keep it real, and I will see you next week.